Alright, so we are from Nutritional Healing. So basically what we do is we're a group of nutritionists, and most of what we do is one-on-one nutrition counseling, where we're working with people on an individual basis, coming up with the eating plan for them based on them specifically and their goals. So we can do a lot of different testing. We do a food sensitivity testing, which is really cool. That identifies foods that are irritating your gut and leading to digestive issues or causing inflammation that are flaring up arthritis or autoimmune issues, anything like that is very cool. We can test like blood sugar, cholesterol, thyroid, all that sort of stuff, more metabolic testing. We can do genetic testing, test for vitamin deficiencies, anything like that. And then based on your goals, whether you want to build muscle or lose weight, we come up with a program for you based on all of that data. We do sports nutrition, we do supplementation as well. I always point out supplements are secondary for us. So we're not the kind of place that just gives you a bunch of shakes, live off of these and you'll lose weight or anything like that. We're eating food first. It's normal food you're getting from the grocery store. It's not prepackaged meals or shakes or pills or anything like that. If you do have like a vitamin deficiency, we can recommend a vitamin supplement to replace that, but that's not our primary focus. So kind of the basis of our presentation today is we're going to be talking about mindful eating. So basically what that is, it's just actually thinking about what we're eating. So much of the eating we do on a day-to-day basis, we don't think about. It's just unconscious. It's lunchtime, so I just eat whatever's in front of me. Or somebody brought donuts, so I just ate 3 of them. I didn't even think about it or anything like that. It's just shifting to actually thinking about what we're eating, being a little bit more conscious about what we're putting in our body and what that's going to do for us. So components of mindful eating, so we're just trying to eat with a purpose, and we're starting to nourish our body. Think about, what is this food going to do for me? Why am I eating it? What is it going to do for me? How am I going to feel? All of those sorts of things, rather than just eating to eat.
So we want you to start to actually think about your food as fuel. So when you think about putting fuel in your car, gas in your car, you don't put the wrong type of gas in your car, or you don't put bad, super old gas in your car, because your car probably wouldn't run as efficiently as it could, right? Our bodies are the exact same thing. It's just like a machine, okay? So if we're putting bad foods or bad fuel into our bodies over time are gonna not really work as efficiently as they can. So starting to look at food as our fuel is kind of the mindset that we're trying to get into, okay?
Okay, so the first component with this is trying to eat with balance. So this diagram, SAD, stands for the Standard American Diet, which does tend to be a little bit sad. And as you can see here, it's all broken down into the 4 main food groups that we're typically eating. At the top we have our sweets, so a lot of cookies and snacks and treats and donuts, things of that nature. On the right we have dairy, so especially prevalent here in Wisconsin, we love our cheese. On the bottom we have like breads and crackers and processed grains, things of that nature. On the left we have meats, and it tends to be more of the processed meats, more hot dogs, deli meats, that sort of thing, rather than the clean, unprocessed meats. So when we talk about balance, we mean trying to get all the different food groups in. So when you look at this, our standard diet, it's really only getting us about 4 food groups, and it's really neglecting a lot of other good food groups that we should be incorporating into our nutrition plan. Now what we do not want to do is we don't want to follow a fad diet, so we don't put you on a fad diet or anything like that. You know, people will say, I'm going to cut out sugar completely, or I'm going to go dairy free, or I'm going to go vegan, or they try to do something like that where they're completely eliminating one of those main food groups. We don't want to do that either. We find that it's kind of a negative way of looking at it, because then we feel like we're deprived, we feel like we can't have our favorite food, and those kind of diets, they typically don't work long term. I know, who here wants to not eat cheese for the rest of their life? I know I don't want to do it. I want to keep eating cheese. So rather than cutting one completely out, we focus on that balance. We're okay, we can have some cheese, but we'll have it in moderation. We'll pick some of the better choices. And we can have everything up here. We don't have to completely cut out meat or anything like that. We're just making better choices within those food groups, and then trying to have everything in moderation.
So with that being said, we're trying to get us to have a healthier lifestyle. So start to think about not your food as like a diet that you're following for a short period of time to get to whatever goal weight that we're talking about. We want to follow this long term. So what can you reasonably do for the rest of your life? Like Kirk said, you're probably not going to cut out dairy for the rest of your life or cut out sugar for the rest of your life. That's not something that you can follow long term. So we want to do things that are like, okay, well, that's a little bit more reasonable. Getting everything in a little, you always heard everything in moderation. That's kind of what we stick behind. But when we say everything in moderation, certain things you need to get a lot in. That's what we'll go over. So just starting to think of things that you can do more long term. If it's something that's so drastic and is really going to limit you, we're probably not going to follow it for that long period of time. And that's usually when we start to get down ourselves like, oh, this diet's not working out. Oh, it's so hard. We don't want you to think about food that way. Okay?
And eating that standard American diet, it results in us being what we call stuffed and starved, where we're consuming plenty of calories throughout the day, but we're not getting any of the vitamins or nutrients that we actually need, and that's what our body craves. So we're eating a lot of these empty calories, the French fries or donuts. They're super high in calories, but they don't have any nutrition. They don't really stick with us. They don't keep us full. So if we can shift to eating more whole foods and less processed artificial foods, we'll really be more full throughout the day, and it'll lead to having less sugar cravings and less hunger and all of that.
Yeah, so again, really trying to focus on more balance, more variety, some other things that we'll get into as well. That's going to be better than just counting calories. I know that people think, okay, well, if my calories, I have like a deficit for what I'm burning throughout the day, that's how I lose fat. Well, if you're eating all of your calories in donuts throughout the day, probably not going to be the best thing. So we're looking at more like calorie really rich foods, okay? So not eating a bunch of those empty calories. So really just trying to get away from counting calories altogether and paying attention to exactly what it is that you're eating, not just how many calories that food is giving you.
Okay, so what are we missing? We also use the analogy that each different food group is like a different tool in your toolbox. So if all we're eating is, those standard American diet or just a couple food groups, we've only got a couple tools in there, which we want to have a diverse toolbox basically. We want to have a little bit of everything. Just because our body has millions of jobs to do, everything requires something a little bit different. Each food group has a little bit different nutrient profile, so we want to give our body a wide base of all those things so it's able to do all those jobs and function at its best. So this is a little bit more what we'd like the balance to look like. So of course, front and center we have our fruits and veggies. You guys probably could have guessed that we were going to say we should eat more fruits and veggies. That should be the base of our nutrition. So that's what we want to focus on. But you also see around the outside, we still have foods from like that standard American diet, and we incorporate some new things, and there's still dairy up there. There's like cottage cheese. There's still protein. We have eggs and chicken. You can still get healthy fats in with oils and nuts and coconut and healthier unprocessed grains and things like that. So we're not eliminating everything. All those groups are still there. We're just incorporating the things we're missing and making good choices from those initial food groups.
Yep, so this is something to take away from today. Really what we're trying to do is get away from the processed grains, processed meats, all that processed dairy, and all those sweets, okay? Yes, you can still have a little bit of them here and there, but we're really trying to get away from just those 4 food groups. We're trying to look at foods as proteins, legumes, or your beans, nuts and seeds. We have more of your less starchy vegetables. We have your root vegetables. We have fruits. We have grains, and we have fats and oils. So that's 8 different categories versus the 4 categories that we saw for the standard American diet. So already trying throughout the day to make sure that you're getting foods in from all 8 categories throughout the day. If you want to start keeping even like a little log, whether it be on your phone or through MyFitnessPal or writing it down, whatever works the best, just to kind of reflect after your day and see, okay, what foods did I actually get in and what groups were those foods from? Am I getting all 8 groups in, or am I just tending to stick closer to those 4 that are part of that standard American diet? So right there, that's something to start to look at, is trying to get in all of those different categories, okay?
Okay, another important component is variety. So when we look at the standard American diet, I like to look at colors. So when you look at these foods, it's all of like that white, yellow, tan, earth tone-y kind of colors. The reason we look at that is each different color of food has a little bit different nutrient profile. So if all we're eating is the standard American diet, we're getting everything that the whites, tans, yellows have to offer, and we're missing out on all of the reds, the blues, the purples, the greens, all those other foods. They have their own nutrient profile, and we're missing all of that if we're just sticking to the standard American diet.
So this is something else that you can take away. So point number 2 is starting to eat with more colors on your plate. So I challenge you today, either with your lunch, maybe your dinner, is to look on your plate how many different colors that you actually have on your plate. I'm not talking about different shades of brown or different shades of any of this. That's all considered one color, okay? How many different colors are you getting from your different produce options, things like that, okay? So really trying to get in all of those nutrients, not focusing on the nutrients themselves, just focusing on the colors. Right there, you're getting in nutrients that your body has probably been deprived of for a long period of time. So rule of thumb, I usually say try to get in 4 different colors on your plate for those big meals, okay?
And then, like we've said, variety is just the spice of life. So this just helps keep it interesting, keeps your food tasty as well. So just like eating all the different food groups, we want to incorporate all those different colors, like Brooke was saying. And the gold standard for cancer prevention is 9 servings of fruits and veggies per day from all the different colors, ideally. And I know some people have big eyes, like 9 servings a day, that would really be a lot. A serving is really just a half a cup. So a lot of times if people are making a salad, that can be 3 cups or more. Even certain, berries, blueberries, usually people eat a whole cup. That would be 2 of your 9 right there. So it's really not too daunting to get all of that in.
When we're talking about 9 servings of fruits and vegetables, I still want to stress that we want to be a little bit heavier in the less starchy vegetables. So like broccoli, cauliflower, asparagus, bell peppers, any salad greens, tomatoes, snap peas, cucumbers, anything like that, those less starchy vegetables, typically the ones that grow above ground. We want to stick to about 5 to 6 of our 9 servings of produce a day, stick to the less starchy vegetables. The rest of them, the last 3 or 4 servings, then you can have your root vegetables or your fruits. The reason why we want to limit those a little bit more is to make sure that we're keeping your sugar intake under control. I mean, of course, it's a healthy form of sugar. You're getting it from a healthy source, but we still don't want you eating 9 servings of fruit throughout the day because that's a lot of sugar that you're getting in. So really try to focus primarily on getting the less starchy vegetables in, and then just kind of fill in with fruits and more of your root vegetables like your carrots, white potato, sweet potato, anything like that.
Okay, phytonutrients. So basically what these are, they're natural plant chemicals, and they protect the plant. They can protect it from excessive heat or drought or disease or anything like that. When we consume them, they do the same thing for us. They're basically like a component of our immune system, help shield us from any kind of toxins or anything that would otherwise damage our cells. Now, where they're most prevalent, again, fruits and veggies. So another reason to make sure we're getting in plenty of fruits and veggies, so we're getting a little bit more of that as well. And antioxidants. So who's heard of antioxidants before? It's kind of like a common buzzword. You start to see it now or see it in drinks and things like that. So basically how they work, we've got a little diagram here. So in our body we have free radicals. So basically these are missing an electron. So they're floating around through the body, and they're going to find a healthy cell, and they're going to steal an electron from that healthy cell. And then the healthy cell can't function as well since it's missing that. What an antioxidant does is it has tons of extra electrons, so it will go around and donate it to a free radical, which kind of neutralizes it. Then it won't go damage a healthy cell. So it kind of minimizes the damage we're experiencing there. Again, free radicals, they're happening all the time through eating processed foods or even just natural damage that occurs to the body. Antioxidants are going to be most prevalent in our fruits and veggies, so that kind of stops the chain reaction of damage in the body as well.
So free radicals, that's kind of another buzzword that's out there. What exactly do free radicals do? What does it look like in our body when they are stealing an electron from that healthy cell? What happens? So this is a great chart that kind of shows you all of the different areas of your body that can be affected by free radical oxidative stress, okay? This is happening over a period of time, but we see things like with the brain, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, OCD, ADHD, we see autism, a lot of different issues there. Things with our immune system, so we have inflammation, autoimmune disorders, anything like that. Issues with our blood vessels, we have multi-organ issues, so that's where like your diabetes comes in, chronic fatigue, that's not gonna really help you trying to do your job as appropriately, right? Issues with the eyes, like cataracts, things like that. Heart issues, skin issues, even when it comes to psoriasis, dermatitis, anything like that. Kidney issues, we have joint issues, so arthritis, especially as we start to get older, that inflammation has built up over time in our joints, causing a lot of that arthritic pain that we're having. Also, issues with our lungs, so even things that you think you just have, like asthma or allergies, those are all things that are caused by this free radical oxidative stress. So usually, I think all of us can kind of agree that we probably have something on this chart. I know I do. That's always something, that's where we're really trying to push all of those fruits and vegetables, because that's your main source of antioxidants. So that's why they're so important, to help protect your body from developing these things over time.
Exactly, trying to be proactive about it. This isn't the kind of stuff where if I don't eat right today, I'm all of a sudden going to have a health problem tomorrow. But when we don't eat right for the long period of time, that's when these things start to build up. It's a little bit more of a cumulative effect. So trying to be proactive and minimize that initially before these big issues pop up. And we also like to talk about wholeness. So calories are really just a unit of heat or a unit of energy, so they're not the end-all be-all, but the body only recognizes 3 macronutrients as a source of energy, and that's protein, fats, and carbohydrates. So those are all the things that are in like whole natural foods that you eat, and our body recognizes those. It knows exactly what to do with them. Anything else has to be processed completely differently. So any artificial sweeteners, preservatives, artificial colors or flavors or anything like that, the body has to process it completely different, and that kind of throws our body for a loop a little bit. So that's why we focus on sticking to the whole foods, real natural foods, because our body's going to recognize those 3 macronutrients, and it's going to know exactly what to do with them.
All right, so point number 3 that you can take away from today. Something that we really stress with our clients is to get away from reading the food label and start to focus on what is below the food label with the ingredients that are going to be contained in all of your food products that you're eating. That is going to be the most important part when you're looking at a food label, is what ingredients are actually in that food. So when we're talking about sticking to fats, carbs, and proteins, all those ingredients there, usually you can read what exactly am I getting in. Now, when we start to get closer to like 10 ingredients, maybe even more, some foods you have like a whole side of the label is all ingredients. Really trying to stay away from those foods, because the more ingredients the food has, that's the more processed that it is. So really, rule of thumb, we try to stick to less than 10 ingredients in any of your food products that you're eating, especially when you start to have ingredients out there that you can't really pronounce, or you wouldn't be able to like find a picture of that somewhere, because we're getting away from the whole foods. So something to really, really focus on is starting to read your ingredients labels for everything that you're eating. And you start to kind of get the feel of, okay, well, I can tell that this is a whole food, or I can tell that this is a very processed food. It's nice to start educating yourself so you can actually make your own decisions about the food that you're putting into your body to fuel your body the correct way, okay? So try to stick to less than 10 ingredients for your food products.
Okay, who's seen this scene before from I Love Lucy? A couple people have. So if anybody hasn't, basically what's happening here is they're working at a chocolate factory and they're on the assembly line. So these chocolates are coming out and it's their job. They've got to pluck it off the line and wrap it in a little tissue paper and put it away in the box or whatever it might be. And when the scene first starts, things are going great. The assembly line is going at a good steady speed. They're coming out one at a time, and they've got plenty of time to grab it off of there, package it up, no problem. After a while, that starts to speed up. The conveyor belt's going a little bit quicker, and they're having to speed up a little bit. Then they start coming out 2 or 3 at a time, and eventually mass pandemonium breaks out, and you see this here, where they're taking their hat off and just throwing them in, or popping them in their mouth, or whatever it might be. And then we have the chaos. So this is basically what happens in our body. So when we're just eating those whole natural foods, like Brooke said, the unprocessed stuff, it's just the protein, the carbs, and the fat that our body knows what to do with. So that's the start of the scene. When everything's going well, it's really slow, things are being processed well. When we start throwing in that other stuff, artificial sweeteners and flavors and colors and all these extra ingredients, that's when the pandemonium breaks out. The body doesn't know what to do with those because we're not really built to consume those. So that's when pandemonium breaks out and they start coming out too fast and too many at a time, and it starts causing issues. And that stuff will really build up and can cause a lot of like the chronic disease and health concerns that we deal with today. So in summary then, what we want to do is we want to stick to whole foods, so trying to limit those ingredients. We want to eat them with balance, so we're getting all of the different food groups. And then we want to eat it with variety as well, so we're incorporating all those different colors. That's going to be like adding more workers to that line rather than just speeding up the chocolate machine for you.
All right, so beverages. I know we've talked a lot about food. Something that we usually forget to think about is what we're drinking throughout the day. That can actually be one of our largest sources of calories that we're taking in, is the things that we're drinking throughout the day. So this is something that we definitely want to start looking at as well, okay? So here we have a nice little picture that explains how much sugar is actually in a lot of these common drink products. So you have your sodas, you have energy drinks, you have different juices, maybe you have a sport drink, teas even. There is a lot of sugar in all of these. So I invite you to look at the food or look at the label that you actually have to see how much sugar is in there. And that's just the sugar. It's not even counting all of the artificial sweeteners as well, okay? So that's something that we really want to start looking at is how much sugar are we really drinking in a lot of our beverages throughout the day, and what is that actually doing to our body? A lot of time that sugar is going to act as a diuretic, so the more that you drink, the more that's actually going to dehydrate your body. So when we talk about things like caffeine, so how many people start their day out with coffee? Right, like everyone, okay. So if you drink 8 ounces of coffee, that means that you need to get in 16 ounces of water, more than you should throughout the day. So I'm not telling you that you can't drink coffee anymore. I just want you to be a little bit more aware of what that's actually doing to your body and how that's dehydrating you. When it comes to sugars, so even when we look at like a diet soda, or maybe like, not to pick on Coke Zero, but I'm going to, Coke Zero, they say 0 calories, 0 sugar, right? Well, when we actually look at the ingredients, one of the first ingredients on there is aspartame, and that is an artificial sweetener. So even though the food label itself says that there are 0 grams of sugar, the ingredients are telling us that there are artificial sweeteners in there, which your body recognizes the exact same way as it does sugar. So even though we think that we're making a healthy choice, it's really just the same as drinking a full sugar soda anyway, okay? One thing that we are okay with when it comes to sugar is stevia, okay? Stevia is something that takes a completely different pathway in the body. It doesn't affect any of your glycemic markers. So the glucose, insulin, HbA1c, a lot of times we start to see issues with those when we get closer to type 2 diabetes. That's what your sugar is really affecting. Stevia does not affect that at all. So artificial sweeteners, just for example, are going to be like your aspartame, sucralose, saccharin, xylitol, erythritol, sorbitol. Pretty much anything that ends in that tol suffix is going to be a sugar alcohol. And again, any of those products, your body is recognizing the exact same ways it does sugar. So that's why we're trying to get you into reading the ingredients and not just focusing on the food label, because there's all ways that the food industry can kind of get what they want in there anyway. So what we do want to start concentrating on is how much water are we actually getting in. So I know that we talked about how caffeine can affect your water intake. So as much caffeine as you're drinking throughout the day, just multiply that by 2, and that's how much water in addition to what you should be drinking, you need to drink on top of it. So what should we be drinking, okay? What we always tell clients, and this is like the #1 thing that you can start to change today, it'll probably give you more energy than even drinking the caffeine itself, is getting your water level up to where it should be. So what we usually say is about half of your body weight in ounces of water a day is what we recommend everyone get in. Now you could be thinking, oh my gosh, that's like 90 ounces of water. That's a crazy amount of water. Even if you're starting out at 10 ounces of water throughout the day, if you just slowly increment up by 5 to 10 ounces of water every couple of days, where your body's slowly getting used to having more water in, that will even do your body good. So it might take you a few weeks to get to where you should be with your water intake, but you'll still be doing a lot, you'll be benefiting your body a lot by drinking more water. So that is something to take away from today, is already start to drink half of your body weight in ounces of water a day. on average, people are only drinking about 22 ounces of water a day, and that's without looking at the effect that caffeine then has, okay? Average male needs about 97 ounces of water, average female needs about 88 ounces of water, okay? So just kind of start to look at that already, start to drink more water. So that's kind of point, what are we on, 4? So already start to do that, okay?
Okay, and then that dehydration Brooke was talking about, it's kind of similar to the free radical damage, where it's a small microscopic thing happening at the cellular level, but it can lead to a lot of bigger issues, like even, cancer, diabetes, heart issues, anything like that. These big issues we think about, they can actually be caused by some of this dehydration, again, over time, kind of a cumulative effect causing those issues in the body. So in general then, we want to be mindful, but we don't want to be mindful. And essentially what that is, it's overthinking about like what we're eating, or overthinking our food, where we're counting calories, or I have to log everything in my phone, or I have to weigh everything, or carbs have to be under this many grams, or I fast for 18 hours and I get to eat for 4 and then I fast again, or anything like that. Oftentimes those gimmicks, that's just thinking too much about food. And healthy eating, it's never going to be a lifelong goal or something we can do lifelong if it's really a burden, if it's another stressor for us. We have enough stress in our daily life without having to add in, tracking all of our calories or something like that. So that's why we focus on just change your mindset. Just be mindful, start to think about what I'm eating. You use some of these tips that we've mentioned, looking at colors and looking at ingredients and simple things like that. Trying to choose more whole foods, but don't overdo it with being mindful or anything like that. Okay. Then if you are interested in more information about nutritional healing, we do a free consultation. So it's an hour-long appointment with the nutritionist, no obligation, anything like that. We just want to hear about your health history, your goals. We can tell you a bit more about what we do. So you can visit our website or give us a call to set that up. We do offer a 2-week jumpstart program. So if you're listening to this and thinking, okay, I want to start eating healthier, but I have no clue where to start, this would be a simple, easy place to start. It's a 2-week plan that would give you the recipes and the menu plans and exactly what you're eating. For attending this presentation, you would use the code Appleton2018 on our website, and that would get you 20% off our Jumpstart program. Other than that, any questions? Any questions on things we covered, anything we didn't cover, certain foods, ingredients, anything like that? Yeah?
So obviously the big push nowadays is organics.
Mm-hmm.
Organic vegetables, organic, foods. What is your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so organic is definitely good. It's just going to be grown in a healthier way. We don't really know what all those things are doing yet, like the pesticides and the chemicals and GMOs and that kind of stuff. It hasn't been around long enough to have like really good research on problems those are causing, but it's probably going to be healthier in general to do the organic. We don't force people to do it though, just because we don't know yet, and it can be very, very expensive. So eating fruits and veggies can be better than not. If you can afford to do organic or want to do organic, that would just be even better.
When it comes to washing produce, to make sure, like, if you can't go organic, I know I don't buy organic all the time just because it is more expensive and we're kind of limited of what we get in season at certain times of the year. But if you're looking to really make sure that you're cleaning your produce well, mix a cup of vinegar in with your water and just let your produce kind of soak in a sink of water and vinegar for like 10 minutes and then take it off. So like if you have that waxy residue that's still on an apple after you rinse it off, kind of helps to cut some of that with the vinegar. So just a cup, that's all you need with a whole sink of water, and then just let things kind of soak in there. Careful with things like raspberries or blackberries, things like that, that kind of have more of a thin membrane. Those I would still just rinse off with water. Okay, but everything else, yeah, vinegar and water is great. So we went over 4 made points. Can you guys tell me what those 4 big things were to take away from today?
Drink lots of water.
Drink lots of water. So half of your body weight in ounces of water a day. That's 1.
Eat more colors.
Eat more colors. Yep. So strive for like 4 colors on your plate for those big meals. That's 2.
Focus on the macronutrients, the 3 big categories of whole foods.
Yes, perfect. So when we're trying to stick to more whole foods, trying to keep the ingredients less than 10 ingredients when you're eating your foods. If things are more than that, too processed, okay? And then one more. And one of the first things that we talked about. All right, so we're trying to stay away from just the standard American diet, trying to stick to all of those 8 food groups that we kind of went over and make sure that you're getting balance of each of those big food groups, okay? So those are kind of the main things. Are there any other questions at all? All right, so just a couple things that might help. Are any of you familiar with Pinterest? Yes? No? Okay. If you go to our website, which I put right here, scroll all the way to the bottom and you'll see a little red icon next to all of our social media icons that it has a little white P on it. If you click on that, it will bring you to our Pinterest page where we have pinned over 2,000 recipes, all of which we approve of. So when a client comes in and does a program, the approved food list that we give them, all of those recipes go with that food list. So that's a great place to start. And then there is also an app called Fooducate. So I can write that down. But what that app does is if it's free to download on your phone, and what you can do is you can scan different foods in and it will give you a rating of based on how processed that food is. And if it's a really bad rating, like say it gives you a D or an F, it will give you an alternative for a healthier product other than that one that you're about to eat. So that is a really good thing to start using too.
Okay, otherwise, any other questions? Yeah.
What's involved in the food sensitivity testing that you do? Is it like a blood test or like?
Yep, so it's a blood test, and it actually tests your blood against over 200 different foods, and it lets us know exactly which ones are causing issues for you. So it's more complex than just like dairy, gluten, like you would actually go into beef, chicken, pork, turkey, all the fishes, all the vegetables, all of that. And then basically we build a nutrition plan for you based on your specific blood work, so the foods that are not causing irritation for you. Okay.
Good question.
Any other final questions?
No. All right, well, if you do have further questions, left the phone number up here. You can always email us. Emails are going to be on our website. But thank you guys for your time today. We hope you enjoyed it. So just think about some of those things that we talked about and try to make some changes, okay? All right, thank you.
Thank you.